What's up, guys? It's Brandon Flash. Today you're joining me with my 2023 Tesla Model Y all-wheel drive. It's the base model with the 4680 battery pack. We're headed from Charlotte, North Carolina to Nashville, Tennessee. So as I mentioned, we're headed out from Charlotte, North Carolina. We're headed to Nashville, Tennessee, going to a Luke Bryan concert. Should be a great time. And I'm taking you guys along for the ride. So let me show you kind of the tentative route. And then we'll kind of go over the general plan here. I'll show you the stats. We'll reset the trip, things like that. So first we'll reset my trip here. So I've got my NC loop because I did a big loop of North Carolina. We'll reset that. We'll name that to Nashville. Just like that, and then it shows up over there. And we're gonna go to Nashville, Tennessee. I'll have to pull up where the actual hotel is. I don't recall the name of it. Let's see what the car says. So this looks like a pretty reasonable route. Crossville, I don't believe that's Buc-ee's. But I do want to arrive at the hotel, or at the hotel, with a fairly high charge because there's not charging at the hotel. So it looks like there is a Buc-ee's in Crossville, but not the one we're going to. Cookville, there we go. So Crossville. So we're going to add that one instead because I want to go to Buc-ee's. Then we're also going to add Mount Juliet. So that's right before you get into Nashville. So let's just make sure these are in the right order. They're not, just like that. And if you have some questions about how this route planning works and why I'm doing this manually, I actually made a whole video all about that. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. So Asheville will get with a fairly high state of charge. I wonder if we can make it all the way to Sevierville. Let's just try that quick. That'd be really nice if we can make it all the way there. I think it's about 215 miles with elevation. So that's probably a stretch for this car, but doesn't hurt to try. So this is the Model Y 4680 base all-wheel drive. You can see there, it doesn't show any icon, doesn't show like dual motor or anything like that. And it does still charge to 279 miles, which is the rated range with 6,600 miles on it. So looks like it thinks we can get to Sevierville with 8%. So that's going to be the initial plan. Need to go pick up Bethany. We're going to grab some breakfast and then we'll hit the road. So it'll probably be a little bit until we actually get on the road, but here are the current time estimates from the car. Those are definitely not going to be followed at all, but let's get on the road. Well, it's time to hit the road. So we're departing from South Charlotte area and then headed to Sevierville. We'll see if we can make it all the way there without charging. Otherwise, if needed, we'll make a stop in Asheville. But there's quite a bit of elevation going up there and it's 228 miles. We have 264 miles of rated range, but it's a Tesla, so you don't get rated range. So we'll see if this goes well. We're already getting the stay below 70 miles per hour message, but we'll see. Ended up taking a bit of a detour. We went north on 321 to I-40. So we ended up here in Old Fort, right there before Asheville. It's saying we'll need a 20-minute stop here, but I think that's a bit long. Making a detour, I'll explain that in a second, but let's get plugged in. There we go, plugged in. So right now it's saying 1% arrival to the Pilot, which there's a new Evgo installation just east of Knoxville, and that actually has an Evgo with a canopy and everything. That's part of the Evgo Ultium rollout. So we'll make a slight detour there, then go to Sevierville, through Knoxville, Crossville, and then Mount Juliet to charge up before we get to Nashville. So we're at 44% here, 111 kilowatt, and we drove 117 miles with pretty good efficiency. Charged up to 78%, and 117 miles down, we're off to the pilot with Evgo, and then Sevierville, Buc-ee's, and then continuing on. And there's a Model 3 struggling a bit, so off we go. Well, I seem to have come to the wrong pilot with charging, but this one does have charging. We're in White Plains. Looks like they don't have signs up. Equipment's not powered yet. There is a transformer already. We have the Delta units. Looks like that unit's unlocked, which is weird. We've got 2 cabinets, and these are the typical units here. Look at the label. So you can see that they're 500 amp plus 200 amp output, which is really not ideal for dual charging units. Got the switch gear. Let's see if there's an amp rating on it. Not that I can see, but it's possible I'm missing it. But anyway, here you can see the branding and stuff. They're branded as Pilot Flying J with Ultium, very little Evgo branding. They only basically have the Powered by Evgo Extend down there. Then they have the help sticker from Evgo. So I'm going to see if I can find the other one that is actually the one with the canopy, because apparently this is not the one with that. And we're in Sevierville, Tennessee at 21%. We drove 129 miles since the last charge, almost 250 miles driven on the trip so far. We're at Buc-ee's. It's very busy as you'd expect, but not too crazy getting in here. And let's see, our next stop will be, so we're going to the other pilot that I found that actually has the canopy and actually has pictures on PlugShare verifying that, so that's good. Looks like we'll be here about 25 minutes, so we'll probably grab some food inside, and then we should be able to make it all the way to basically Nashville. We'll stop in Mount Juliet before Nashville, so that way we have charge for the vehicle to sit for a couple days, or well, not sit for a couple days, but not really be driven a whole lot around Nashville unless we decide to do something there. There is also a supercharger in Nashville, but that just sounds like a nightmare realistically. Also worth noting, all the charging on this trip has been free thanks to you guys, so thank you for using my referral link down below. I've been able to get free supercharging miles, so definitely appreciated. But time to go into Buc-ee's, get some food, use the restroom, and then continue on this trip. Well, we're charged up to 81%. This message was actually up on the screen before we finished eating, so works out well. We're stopping in Mount Juliet as we come into Nashville. We'll skip Cookeville, Crossville, but we're going to stop at the Evgo. Probably won't be able to charge there as far as I know, but we'll get some pictures, some drone shots, things like that, and then continue on. So charge up to 81%, continuing. Well, we made it to the correct Flying J. So here it is. Looks like it's being built by Owl E-Mobility. You can see Flying J branded with Ultium. It's actually a really nice looking canopy. It looks like they've got some Wi-Fi out here. It's still closed off, so not accessible quite yet. It looks like this unit's actually powered up, which I find quite interesting. I'm gonna put the drone up so that way we can really check it out. But you can see the screen is on. You can see the power cabinet. Yeah, the distribution cabinet and then the power cabinets. Someone else got some photos closer up to the units and could see the actual data labels on them and verified that they're not any different than any of the other Evgo sites. So they have 500 amp plus 200 amp output per dispenser, which really is not dual 175 kilowatt in my opinion. That really should be like, I don't really know how you brand that. I guess you could say 175 plus 100, but technically the power conversion capability is there. It's kind of tricky though, because in theory you could get more than that if you have a high voltage vehicle, but most people won't. So here we can see the whole construction area. There's the transformer, power cabinets, all that fun stuff. So time to put the drone up and get some photos. Well, did not charge at the Evgo site, of course, because it's not open yet. So we're continuing on to Mount Juliet with 61% here. I must say, I love that it's on Watt Road, by the way. It's kind of funny. Projecting 13% arrival to Mount Juliet with 143 miles to go. Well, made a quick detour to Crossville, Tennessee. We're at 36% state of charge. We're not at the Buc-ee's in Crossville, which is literally across the interstate here. Looks like only one person is there. There's no one here. But literally same interstate exit there, so very easy. But this one's a lot faster in and out versus that one because Buc-ee's is just always chaos. But anyway, let's get plugged in here, and then I'll explain why I made a quick detour. So we're plugged in. It's at kind of a weird spot. It's at a winery, which I feel like is not the best place for a charger because you're not going to drink wine while you're at a charger. Appreciate the trash cans, though they're kind of in a weird spot all the way back here, but they put little pads. This is a 8-stall version 3 supercharger. Got a 750 kVA transformer. We have 1200 amp distribution cabinet, and then we have the 2 cabinets, and then we have the 8-stall supercharger, and we have a pilot across the street. That was a very quick stop, up to 56% use the restroom, and we'll arrive to Mount Juliet with 26% apparently. And we've arrived at our final charging stop of this trip to Nashville. We're at 12%. We drove 95 miles at actually pretty good efficiency. Looks like decent bit of traffic going into Nashville, but shouldn't be too bad. Let's get plugged in here. Just like that. So this is a little bit of a weird install. So we've got some here, we've got some here. And we've also got some here. So this is an 11 stall, I believe, even though it's a 3 cabinet. Kind of strange. And then it's also, I think, supposed to be a one-way, but it also says keep right as you're pulling in. I think you're supposed to go in and then around. I just drove in anyway to get to the charger. I don't really know how you're supposed to get in here, actually. But it worked. There wasn't, just be careful if you're coming in here. But going to charge up here a fair bit, and then we'll go to the hotel. So I believe at the previous stop, I failed to elaborate on why we added a stop in Crossville. And basically we were here-ish, and I saw that it was going to be close to make it all the way here to Mount Juliet. However, the Crossville is actually easy to get on and off, which that's the one we went to there. There's the Buc-ee's. They look about the same until you realize that Buc-ee's is just chaos. So for a quick stop, it's not ideal. And then if we were to all the way to go to Cookeville, if we were to go all the way to Cookeville, this one is pretty far off the interstate, so not really ideal. And that's also a version 2, so it would have been a bit slower. And then after Cookeville until Mount Juliet, there's nothing. There might be some CCS charging in there, I didn't look. But as far as superchargers go, there's nothing. So I didn't want to have to stop in Cookeville because I knew I would have a decision to make by then. So I decided instead to just make the decision at Crossville with the easy on and off, and then we came to Mount Juliet here. We're up to 53%. We'll probably charge to 60%, I guess. And then we'll head to downtown Nashville. Hotel is this area. I forgot the name of it, but I'll look it up. And then that will be the end of this video, or maybe the end of today's video. We'll see. And charge up to 63%. And we've got 17 miles to go, so not too far at all. Should be a nice and easy drive. A little bit of traffic, but not too terrible. Well, you're joining us back in Nashville. We ended up going to the Luke Bryan concert, of course. Car sat for 2 days since we arrived. Basically, it was required valet parking, which was not ideal, which is why I didn't film on arrival. But I'll show you guys the stats from the trip out to Nashville, and then I'll go over the plan back to Charlotte. But first, we're going to be grabbing some breakfast. I'll also show you guys some clips from the concert and just kind of general Nashville exploring. But let me flip the camera around and show you the plan.
Let's see how loud you can get, you ready? dust up. Come on. All week long it's a farming town, making that money grow. A little black sun underneath. Who knew it was about to be? Cool. Sunrise, sunburn, sunset repeat. Moonlight all night, crashing into me. Nothing will ever be easy as you and me, tangled up and nowhere to be. I said, hey, hey, we ain't seen our better days. Hell no. Country on. I said, hey, hey, USA. We ain't seen our better days. Hell no, hang on, country on. Girl, I don't care, oh, I just gotta see what you're wearing. There is a boat up the falling down. Oh, I just have to see it now. If you wanna call me, call me, call me. You don't have to worry about it, baby. Wake me up in the dead of the night. Waking dark and by dirt. Can't let it go. Get a ring that you need. You want to call it through. Put a little money in the plate at church. Send your prayers up in the river sound deep. And I feel it to see your family too. Watch their pants and marks in the grass and the yard. Oh, is the truth about it is. Can't buy happiness. Come on, let's go. Buy dirt.
I tumbled in the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition, and yawn and stretch and try to come to life.
Oh, let's gotta do it, Ashley. Come on.
Now when the blood starts pumping, the traffic starts jumping with folks like me on the job from 9 to 5. Sing it! Working 9 to 5, on the surface and devotion. You got it! Move my head, the boss will be the baby. I swear sometimes that man is accidentally. Come on, man, look it up.
Give it up for Scotty Wilbanks on the piano, ladies and gentlemen. Hurry up. My love, there's only you in my life. Drink of me, funny how the good ones go too soon, like the people know the reasons why, I guess. Sometimes a greater plan, it's kind of hard to understand. Emotion, talk about things that nobody cares. There's no pain, goes like one margarita to margarita shot. Worry about the margarita, sorrow out of the full dark. When night will be on our way. One more last chance. Salted above this song. One margarita, two margarita, three margarita, we'll be gone.
So here we are just outside of downtown Nashville. We're going to this place called Biscuit Love. Sounded good, so that's where we're going. This is what the car is proposing. We're at 38% state of charge. There's our stats from the drive out here. 453 miles, 135 kilowatt hours used, 298 watt hour per mile. Actually pretty good. Mount Juliet makes sense as a first stop because we don't have that much charge. But I think I'm going to do the Crossville charger rather than Knoxville. So let's swap that, see how that changes the route. Because that's the one at Buc-ee's. I'm not sure we're going to need that Knoxville one, but let's see. I think just for sake of not making the same mistake as last time we went on this rough route, we're going to go through Old Fort rather than dipping down and having to accidentally go to Spartanburg at night. That was not ideal last time we did this. So do Old Fort here. Let's see what it says. Remove charging stops. I think we can make that work. So the elevation profile of this route, it's basically we go up to about 3,000 feet through here-ish, and then we dip down because we're at about 500 feet now. Let's see if it thinks we can make this work. Helps if I add in Mount Juliet. Since I'm doing manual route planning, I have to manually route plan. I think that should work. Yeah, it looks like that will work. Did it add chargers in again? Why is it doing that? Even though I specifically said not to. This car is very dumb for being so smart. But anyway, let's go get some biscuits. We'll go to Mount Juliet. We'll figure it out a little bit more there, but I think this route should work. We'll probably do lunch or whatever at Crossville at Buc-ee's, and then just crank on home. Well, we made it to Mount Juliet with 26%, 39 miles since we charged here last time, which we charged up to I think like 63%, something like that. But 18 miles from the hotel, and as you can tell, we did not drive while we were in Nashville. Yeah, so 15 minutes, then we'll make it to Crossville to the Buc-ee's. So, should be a pretty quick little top off here. Like I said last time, it's at a McDonald's with some other stuff around it. This time I came in through there. I don't know if that's the right way either. I think you're supposed to come in all the way around, but I don't know. It's a little wonky. Supercharger is falling apart a little bit, but there you can see we're ramping up. Let's see what kind of speeds we're getting. So about 150 kilowatts at 26%, which is pretty solid for this car. I pulled out my iPad with CAN server and Teslax here, so you can see the battery is actually actively heating. So heat target 65 degrees Celsius. It's currently heating the battery coolant to 60 degrees Celsius, even though the battery is at max of 52, minimum of 51.5. You can see the cooling target is 73 degrees Celsius, so toasty. There you can see maximum battery full kilowatt hour and currently usable. And then you can also see the buffer there is 3.1 kilowatt hour. And we're getting 103 kilowatt to the battery and 288 amps to the battery at 356 volts. So keep an eye on this as we're charging. Charged up to 55%, projecting arrival of 12% to Crossville. That's 94 miles away. And here are the battery temps. So it's now cooling the battery, so it has a cool target of 55 degrees and the battery's at 57 degrees. And you can see the coolant inlet temp is at 49.8, so it is actively cooling the battery. So let's get on the road. It should be a pretty easy drive all the way over to Cookeville. Well, we've arrived at Crossville, Tennessee, Buc-ee's Genesis Road Supercharger. We're at 5%, and we drove 95 miles. Not that great of efficiency. We had some elevation gain, and traffic was moving decently well. Battery did not precondition at all, but it's actually fairly toasty, so let's see what happens when we plug in. We should get the full 230 kilowatt. Looks like, there we go, we just dropped to 4%. One more Tesla arriving as we arrived, but otherwise a completely empty supercharger. So there we go, we're plugged in. Of course, it's at a Buc-ee's, it's quite busy. So let's see what this ramps up to. Should get 230 kilowatts, or at least very close to it. $212, $216. You can see 630 amps. There we go, 223 kilowatts, which that's probably about what it'll peak at. You can see now the battery has a heat target of 40 degrees Celsius, but it's over that, so it'll cool once it hits 61. But we're gonna go into Buc-ee's and get some food and then continue on. I don't know if we crossed into Eastern time yet. I don't think we did, but this stop will take us 209 miles, which we'll see if we can do that, all the way to Old Fort. So let's see how this does, and if we add another stop, well, so be it. Well, charge up to 59%. Definitely not ready to go yet, though it does project a 7% arrival currently. That seems wildly optimistic, but wanted to show battery temperatures. So it's showing that we're at 57 degrees Celsius max battery temp, which is with a small gradient of, since the minimum is 56.5. But you can see it's cooling because the coolant temp is lower than the brick temp, and the cooling target is less than the coolant temp. Well, just unplugged at 95%. Now it's time to get back on the road.
It's easy to remember where I started, the doors that opened up, a place I long to find. My fear and money disregarded for another time. No, I didn't know it, hit me out of nowhere. No, I didn't know it, but I had to go there. Take me back to the place I'm missing. Oh, I wanna catch a fever in the underground. No amount of nothing that can replace. I remember dreaming, rolling up just to get away. I'm screaming now or never. To people I don't know. Yesterday is far enough away to see the difference. No, I didn't know it was coming out of nowhere. No, I didn't know it, but I had to go there. Take me back to the place I'm missing. Oh, I wanna catch a fever in the underground. No amount of nothing that can replace. I remember dreaming, rolling up just to get away. Just to get away. Just to get away. Take me back to the place I'm missing. Oh, I wanna catch a fever in the underground. No amount of nothing that can replace. I remember dreaming, rolling up just to get away. Take me back to the place I'm missing.
Well, we ended up detouring to Asheville because it was saying that we would still make it to Old Fort, but then it started going negative arrival percentage, which clearly does not work. So went to the Asheville South Tunnel Road Supercharger, which is actually like basically right across from the other South Tunnel Road, South Tunnel Road Supercharger. And if you watched the road trip to Minnesota, then you saw that one. But we're at this one. This one's at Panera and a bunch of other stuff. You can see Panera, Blaze Pizza, Chick-fil-A. So quite a few options there. We're at 5%. We went 193 miles, which is the new record that I've driven on a single charge in this car. And let's just get plugged in. And this is just a 8-stall version 3. So nothing too crazy here. Guitar center, some therapy balance center, like a growing place. So it's like a pretty decent spot. Let's see what kind of speeds we get. You can see the battery is fairly warm. We're at 48 degrees max cell temp and it's actively heating right now. You can see 220. It looked like it already peaked and then dropped down a little bit. So probably going to fully charge here. Well, not fully charge, but charge up to like 80% or so. And then let's just remove the Old Fort stop. See what it says to go to Charlotte. It's thinking pretty hard here. Maybe. Let's turn Wi-Fi off. Give it another shot here. I'm hoping it takes us this way. Oh, perfect. And with the elevation drop, we lose about 1,500 feet of elevation. We don't need a ton of charge to make it back, but I don't want to arrive completely dead either. So, yeah, it seems to think we only need to charge to 19% here, which is definitely not right. We'll probably charge up to like 60-70% while we grab some food. Well, we tried going to a Philly steak place or Philly cheesesteak place down right by the supercharger, but they said it would be a 30-minute wait to even get food, that's too long. So we're at the everyday hospital food place, Panera Bread, which is pretty good, but just nothing special. I feel like I've just had it too much. But the supercharger is kind of right down there. It's a little bit of a hike to get up here, but not too bad. Did a mobile order, just waiting for the food to be ready. Well, charged up to 90% while getting Panera, and we've got about 130 miles or so to go. So that will be the end of this trip, and I'll give you guys the full recap when we get home. Well, we made it home, made it back into Charlotte, and we've arrived with 32%. So let me show you some final stats here. But overall, trip was really good, uneventful. Pretty annoying that the trip planner has basically become useless, or not trip planner, but the arrival estimate has become essentially useless. But it's not super consistent about whether it's useful or useless. So you basically just can't trust it, which makes it kind of useless, if you will. Sorry, there's a Polestar pulling out that matches my old spec. But anyway, car was great. I wish charging was a bit more aggressive. Actually, I wish it was a lot more aggressive, but got to be realistic with my requests here. I think they can really turn up the C rate on the 4680 Model Y, because it just tapers so aggressively, and I think they could just let it rip a lot longer, similar to 2170s, and hopefully they do. Because really, the small battery is fine and the range is fine. I just wish it charged faster, because if it charged faster with limited range, that's not a problem at all. There's superchargers everywhere, and they have high power. I just wish it would hold even over 150 kilowatts a lot longer, let alone over 200 kilowatts longer, because it basically hits peak, if it hits peak, because it rarely hits the 230 peak. I think the highest I've seen is 223. I'll have to double check the logs, but it holds it for seconds at most, and then it immediately tapers off, and tapers off pretty aggressively. And the battery is warm, but the cooling system seems adequate to manage that, so there's no reason that it shouldn't be able to do it longer, unless Tesla's just being ultra conservative with their charge curve on these 4680s. So, but let me show you the stats. So 32% arrival, and then there's the final stat. So this total trip, 902 miles, just under 300 watt hours per mile. So that's about 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour, about 270 kilowatt hours used. And then we've crossed over 7,500 miles on the odometer. Down here we have the battery pack temperatures and everything. So we're at 39 C max brick temp. So it did cool down a fair bit once it no longer had a supercharger stop. Let's get to the DC AC mix here. So there you can see my full mix. So definitely a 2-to-1 ratio of DC to AC charging on this car, with only about 430 kilowatt hours of regen. So that speaks to the heavy amount of highway driving that I'm doing. But overall, liking the car. Of course, there's the full stats. And then I'll also link the Twitter thread that I did for this trip down below in the pinned comment. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. I'll have a lot of the stats, maps, supercharger stops, things like that down there as well. But if you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.